LVMH, which gets its name from Louis Vuitton, Moet, and Hennessy, obviously owns Louis Vuitton, Moet, and Hennessy, but did you know that they also own everything else? Okay, well maybe not everything, but a lot. And when you learn what companies they do own, you might be very surprised. I'll give you that list in this video, and we'll also talk about why we should even care about this and the impacts that it has on you as a customer of luxury brands. Stay tuned. Hi YouTube, Autumn Beckman here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My channel is all about luxury living on a budget, from high-end luxury handbags and small goods to the everyday luxuries of life. If that sounds interesting to you, please make sure you subscribe, click the bell notification icon to be notified when I post new videos, and be sure to like the videos that you enjoy. And one of the perks of subscribing to my channel is you get to see my community posts on your YouTube homepage, where I post deals, discount codes, and rare finds related to these beautiful things we love. Before we jump into this topic, just a quick reminder that I do have my handbag collection pages where you can track all the bags in your collection and the small goods, whether they're luxury or contemporary brands, doesn't matter, and a few other things available in my shop on my website at autumnbeckman.com. I will have that linked below in case you're interested in checking it out. So LVMH, how did they even get to own all of these different companies? Well, LVMH is a product of mergers and acquisitions. In 1971, Moet and Chandon and Hennessy merged together to create Moet Hennessy. And then in 1987, they combined with Louis Vuitton to create LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy. Just a few years later, Bernard Arnault became the majority owner of LVMH, and from there he expanded and expanded and expanded the company, acquiring a bunch of companies along the way to create what LVMH has become now. He is also currently the third wealthiest person in the whole world, at least according to this article that I just read. It's a recent article. I'll have it linked below in case you want to find out the top 10 people. It's kind of an interesting list if you want to check it out. So LVMH is headquartered in Paris, but they have become a global conglomerate. So by global, I mean not only do they operate businesses across the globe, but they also have reach across the globe, reaching customers, reaching places where they source material, manufacturing, all kinds of things. Their fingers are everywhere. And being a conglomerate, which means that you have a parent company that owns a lot of other companies, it makes that global factor even more true. In fact, LVMH's businesses span all four sectors of the luxury market. They have wine and spirits, fashion and leather goods, fragrances and beauty, and jewelry and watches. So why do we care about any of this? Well, the main reason is just to be informed. Knowledge is power, and you can take that knowledge and do all kinds of things with it. There's been a trend for quite a while now of people wanting to know where the things that they're buying come from and how they're created. People want to know about sustainability practices, business choices, manufacturing choices, labor choices, where and how materials are sourced. And one benefit of a conglomerate is that those individual companies often will share company-wide resources and business philosophies. So if one brand under that parent company is very sustainable and very ethical in their labor practices, it's not always guaranteed, but perhaps it's more likely that other companies under that parent company would operate under those same values. It's also often likely that they may use the same manufacturers. So for you as the consumer, knowing what companies are under that parent company may give you some peace of mind that if you really like this company, you may also like these others that are connected to it, because they may share factors that you care about. Being part of a conglomerate is also pretty handy because, for the parent company at least, some of those individual companies could take risks, and maybe those risks do great, they're very successful. But if they're not, they take a loss, and then other companies that are more successful can help balance out that loss for the parent company. So it doesn't mean that that company that you love that took a risk but it didn't work, it doesn't mean they'll go out of business because of it. Not necessarily anyway. But for you as a consumer, in addition to potentially supporting other brands under that parent company, there is another side of the coin. There may be a brand that does something that really upsets you and really goes against your values, and you decide you don't want to buy from them anymore. You want to cancel them, or You want to boycott. That cancels just a new word for boycott, which has been going on forever. So now if you're boycotting this brand that you were buying from, you will want to know what other brands are also under that parent company, because you may want to avoid all of them too, so you're not supporting the parent company. I remember at some point when I was a teenager, there was some problem with Gillette, the razor brand. Don't remember what the problem was, but it was a long time ago and they don't seem to have suffered for it. But what I remember distinctly is being in the grocery store and picking up a pack of Gillette razors. Not a product that I purchased at the time, but I remember just being curious, so I looked at the back of the label, and it said it was owned by parent company Procter & Gamble. And that was my very first experience learning about conglomerates, and that Gillette wasn't just an independent brand, that it was connected to all these other brands too. Now, I hate to pick on Gillette and Procter & Gamble here, but I'm just going to give you this example since that's the one that sticks out from my personal life experience. If you had a problem with Gillette and you didn't want to buy from them anymore, you might be looking around at the other razors next to it, and you might see some products by Braun and get those instead and think, yes, I'm sticking it to the man by not buying Gillette. I'm going to get Braun instead. The thing is that Procter & Gamble owns both of those companies. They also own Venus razors, and they even own The Art of Shaving. If you wanted to leave those grocery store brands behind and go to something more high-end, something that feels more exclusive, they're all owned by Procter & Gamble. So if you were really serious about boycotting Gillette and not giving Procter & Gamble your money, then you wouldn't be able to shop from any of those brands. But you would also need to know about other sectors they're in. Just like LVMH has Louis Vuitton, you may not know they also have Moet and Hennessy. You may not know that if you were boycotting Louis Vuitton, God forbid, that you also can't buy Moet or Hennessy. Just like with Procter & Gamble, you can't buy those shaving brands, but you also wouldn't be able to buy Pampers or Downy or Tide or Bounty or Charmin or Old Spice or Swiffer or even Pepto-Bismol or scores of other brands that you would find in the grocery store that you would never associate with one another unless you educated yourself on the conglomerates and what brands they own. And this is one of the reasons why I just don't bother boycotting any brands, because I'm aware of this conglomerate structure, and there's so much we don't know, and there's so much to keep track of. How are you supposed to keep it all straight? But at least with luxury, it's a little bit easier because there are fewer luxury brands than there are brands under a company like Procter & Gamble. A fairly recent luxury brand that was boycotted by a lot of people still aren't buying from them, Balenciaga. They had this scandal with some of their advertising. Well, Balenciaga is owned by parent company Kering, K-E-R-I-N-G. So if you really are boycotting Balenciaga, then you also need to find out what other brands Kering owns and boycott them too. And these include Gucci, Saint Laurent, Bottega, Alexander McQueen, Montblanc, Puma, and lots of others. And conglomerates can be further complicated because within one individual brand, there can be different sectors. Like Cartier, we know them for jewelry, but Cartier also has eyewear, and the eyewear component is owned by Kering, but the jewelry component is owned by another company entirely. Now, one of the big and most obvious, I think, problems with conglomerates is that they can become monopolies. And in doing so, they have so much control over products, over services, and over prices, which gives them a lot of control in the economy. And in these cases, in the global economy. And I have a few questions for you guys about this. I want to hear your feedback on it, but first, let me finally tell you all the brands that LVMH owns. Now, I'm going to tell you the ones that I think most of you will have heard of. There are more than this, but these are the ones I think you'll be most interested to know about. So under fashion and leather goods, I'm just gonna hold my computer up here and read straight from it. Under fashion and leather goods, we have, of course, Louis Vuitton. There's also Dior, Fendi, Givenchy, Celine, Loewe, Marc Jacobs, Loro Piana, Emilio Pucci, Kenzo, and many others. In the jewelry and watches sector, LVMH owns Tiffany & Company, Bulgari, Hublot, and Tag Heuer. Is that how to pronounce that? Under fragrances and beauty, they own Stella by Stella McCartney. I'm not sure if they own the Stella McCartney handbag brand, but they own the fragrance component of it. Acqua di Parma, the Dior, Givenchy, and Loewe fragrances, Sephora, and Fenty Beauty. And under wine and spirits, of course, they have Moet and Chandon. They also have Chandon, and Hennessy, and Dom Perignon, and Veuve Clicquot, and many, many others. They own several wineries in California, in fact. And a few miscellaneous things they own that don't fall neatly into those four sectors are Rimowa, the luggage company, 24S, which is the website retailer that sells a lot of these brands. That's how these brands are on there, is because LVMH owns all of it. And Cheval Blanc, which when I saw this on the LVMH website, I thought, isn't that a liquor of some kind? No, it is a very exclusive looking hospitality group with destinations, hotels, experiences, you name it. The kinds of places I would love to stay, but will very likely never be able to afford in my lifetime. So on this list, did any of those surprise you? And which ones surprised you the most? For me, I was really surprised that Moet and Chandon and Veuve Clicquot are owned by the same company. I always thought they were rivals, but apparently not so much, at least in the grander scheme of things. So now I have several questions for you about conglomerates potentially becoming monopolies. So LVMH and Kering, the one that owns Balenciaga, Gucci, all those, they own and operate a huge portion of the luxury goods market. And being so large, they are able to have so much control over the products that are released and the price points, which is a big concern for a lot of us, and who has access to those goods. And did you notice, of all of the brands that I have mentioned today under these conglomerate umbrellas, did you notice that there are two major fashion houses that I haven't mentioned yet? I'll give you a second to try to think of which two those are. I'll give you 5 seconds. I don't have a watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chanel and Hermes. Now, I recently did a video on Hermes and some of their strategies, and that's kind of related to this video, so if you're interested, go check that out. I'll have it linked below. Chanel and Hermes are both still independently owned. They don't have a parent company on top of them. So here are my questions to you. Based on your experiences with luxury brands, have you noticed differences across different brands that you think could be attributed to whether or not they're part of a conglomerate? And hearing in this video which ones are part of a conglomerate and which aren't, does that change your opinion of them in any way? And if so, how? Or hearing that some brands are connected, owned by the same parent company, do you start to see some connections between them? Like if you thought, oh gosh, that bag is so similar to this bag from this other brand, and now you realize, oh, they're like sister companies, no wonder. And here's a more fun question. If you were the owner of any of these luxury brands, what would you do differently? We can dream for a minute. So think about those questions and let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm really looking forward to reading your answers and seeing what kinds of things you've noticed and what ideas you have. Well, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Hope to see you back here next time, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.